Spring has officially arrived at the cabin. Join us as we work on our off-grid cabin build, as we finish up making our maple syrup for the season, and start our seeds in anticipation for our garden this summer. We've had beautiful weather some days, and then other days we're back to winter. But we were happy that today, working down in the cabin, it is a beautiful day. The sun is shining into the cabin and it's warmed it up really nicely. Eric's been working this winter on getting all of the boards on the walls, and we've done a few videos on that, but it is almost done. So he is just finishing up today the last few boards to go up in the back bedroom in the loft. This wall is a pine wall. Most of the walls in the cabin are spruce, and then the ceiling in the loft in upstairs is cedar. But this back wall is a pine wall of wood that Eric got from his grandfather that he had milled a long time ago, and now we're getting to use it in our cabin, which is really nice for Eric to have that family connection in the cabin. It is so satisfying to see the cabin come together and the walls are being done, and we're going to be moving on soon to the flooring and the kitchen cabinetry and getting all those final little things done up. Well, they're not very little, they're big things, but it feels like we're getting close to having our cabin finished and close to moving in. Now that it's spring, it's giving us a new energy for working on the cabin and new momentum to eventually get into living in this cabin. I absolutely love the view we have from up in the loft. It is so beautiful, and I love when the light shines in, and I just am looking forward to living in here each day and enjoying the view. So in the cabin, it actually is around plus 10 some days with the sun coming in, which is beautiful. And Ruby, my sister's dog, she loves to lay in the sunshine that's coming in through the windows and join us as we're working down the cabin. She loves to come down here and run around. We've been slowly picking away at the projects to finish inside the cabin, and we'll be continuing on with our bigger projects once the weather is a little warmer. We also can't get our truck down into the cabin right now because our road needs some work, and it got really soft with this thaw, and then it rotted up pretty bad, so we need to wait till we can get that smoothed out a bit to be able to bring more materials down through the road. So we've been walking in and out right now, which is alright, but we'll be glad once it is ready to drive on again. But the sun's been shining some days and able to make lots of solar power. Then other days it'll turn and be a snowstorm, which is what it's like in New Brunswick, Canada in the springtime. Some days it looks like summer, some days it looks like Christmas. The animals, they don't always love that, but they're pretty used to it. Our next spring project that we're wrapping up for this time of year is our maple syrup. So Eric's been spending lots of days down in the sugar shack finishing up our maple syrup.
Last day boiling in the sugar shack. Got a big spring snowstorm on the way. Just starting to snow now. I just got down here. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon. Started my fire. I was here last night until about 9:30, and I let the fire die down. I still had quite a bit of sap in here. And when I came in this afternoon, the shack smelled real sweet, and what was left in the pan was almost syrup. And I left here at 9:30 last night, and my fire was dying. And this morning and this afternoon, it still had steam rolling off it. So I had a pretty good hot fire going. But I just started the fire again, and starting to go. Shouldn't be here too long, and then I'll be drawing off, and that'll be it.
We got quite a bit of syrup this season. We made 32 bottles, and those bottles are around 375 milliliters, most of them. So we got a good haul. We also had some maple sugar I was able to make, and so we're pretty happy with how much syrup we made this season. With the spring weather, we're also excited about starting our seeds for the garden. We did this down at the cabin because all of our seed starting stuff is in the shed that we have down in the cabin, and so we decided to come down here and get our seeds all started for the season. the cabin's not done and we're not living in here yet, but all of our seed starting stuff was in the shed. So we're gonna start our seeds here and then take them back to our grandfather's house where we're living and put them under the grow lights and keep them warm. It's too cold to keep them in here since we're not heating the cabin yet. But what we're gonna do today is we're gonna do some soil blocking to start our seeds. And I got this for Christmas a couple years ago, and it's my first time trying it out, so I'm excited to try this. And we're going to be able to start all our seeds just in this tray, and then we'll size them up as they start to grow, and they'll be ready in a few months to put out in the garden. The soil we're using today is just an all-purpose potting soil, and it's pretty loose. It doesn't have any huge chunks in it. The reason I'm using this is just because we had it on hand and I wanted to use it. You can buy soil starting mixes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try something new today to me. I've done a little research, and there's a lot of people that have been using things like peat moss and coconut coir in your soil starting mix, and that helps retain moisture. But I don't love peat moss since it's bad for the environment. And so I was looking into using something different, and I came across someone that uses wool pellets and from her own sheep. I thought that sounded really neat. And so we're going to do a little bit of an experiment today. The reason you use wool is in the soil mix is to help retain moisture for those seeds when they're starting. They need a lot of moisture. And then also has like a slow nitrogen release as a slow fertilizer. And I've never tried it, but I wanted to experiment with it. So I'm going to use a couple things. So I have some wool here that was from our goat Clementine. And if you've seen many of our videos, you might have seen her in the background of some. Sad we lost her this winter. She was getting old and passed away. But I have a bag of her wool, and usually if you had Angora wool, you'd use it for fiber making, but we just sometimes would just trim her ourselves if she needed it. So these are like little short bits. And so I'm going to experiment, and I'm going to try cutting this up. The pellets that people use are like packed and made up, but I'm going to try it just with my own. I'm going to cut it in little bits and see how it works in the soil. So that's going to be one part of my experiment. Then I'm also going to be trying to use some horsehair, which sounds weird, but we have horses, and so I thought, I don't have a source of wool anymore since our goat is no longer with us, and so unless we get sheep or something in the future, I do have, at the time, a lot of horsehair because the time for seed starting is right around shedding time for the horses, so they shed like crazy. And I just saw this morning when we were doing the chores and we were de-shedding some of the horses. I was like, well, this actually might work. So I have no idea, I've never heard anyone doing this, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to cut it up into little bits and try it. So I'm going to try 2 different things and see how it works and see if it helps with moisture retention. And so we're going to try this out, and I'll let you know if I like it. To start, we're going to mix up our soil and mix in a bucket. And we're going to do 3 scoops of soil, 2, 3. Okay, we're gonna try this, and we're gonna add some of the chopped up horsehair. So I got my horsehair, and I did not think this is like conventional at all, but I just want to try it out. So this is about a handful. Now that the hair is added, we're going to stir it up while it's dry so it's easier to mix in through the soil, and then it's time to add the water. We want to add enough water so that when you squeeze it to the edge, a little bit of water pools at the bottom. So this is our first time trying soil blocking, so I think we have the right soil mixture with water and everything, and so now we're going to try it out. So we're going to take our soil block, we're going to push down and wiggle it, and then lift it up, and that did not work. Let's see, I don't know how it's supposed to squish, 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 squish.
That was better.
Okay, let's try it. Come over here. Hey! We're gonna squish, squish, squish. Do it another time. And then we're gonna take it over here, set it down, and release. All right. Now we're gonna try it with some wool. So we're gonna do the same thing, add our dry soil. And we're gonna chop up some wool and put inside. The one concern I have with both of these methods is that our wool and the hair might have little pieces of hay in it, and that could affect like weeds and things, but we'll see how it works. When they do it with pellets, I'm assuming it's all in little bits, so this should be similar. Now that the wool's all in, we're gonna add the water and mix it all up until we can squeeze it to the side and a little bit of water runs out. Now that it's all mixed up, we're going to make these into our soil blocks, and then we'll be planting our seeds. Now that we have our soil blocks all made, we're going to plant our seeds, and the ones closest to you are the wool ones, and the ones closest to me are the hair ones. So I'm going to label them what seed they are, and then also what they're planted in. So first we're going to do tomatoes, and what we have for tomatoes, we have two types. We have Scotians, and Scotians are me and Eric's favorite tomato. We plant these every year, and they always do good for us, and that's what I use for my salsa and things, and we love them. But then I also usually do some paste tomatoes because those are good for making tomato sauce and they just have less water content. And I usually do Amish paste tomatoes, but we went to buy our seeds, they didn't have any. So these are called Plum Regal, and they're supposed to be a paste tomato. And we're gonna see how they do for us today. And these seeds are from the Vessi Seed Company, and it's a company at PEI, which is on the east coast of Canada. And we really like the seed company, and they've done well for us, and so we're gonna stick with them this year. We're just putting one seed per hole this time. These are brand new, we just bought them. If they were last year's seeds, I might put 2 or 3 in case germination wasn't so good. And we always do a few extra just in case they don't germinate. So I am doing 20 of the Scotias. I'm going to take a little bit of the extra soil now that the seeds are in and just put them over top just to barely cover up the seeds. But that helps keep the moisture in so they don't dry out when they're starting to germinate. So we're just making sure not to put too much soil on top of them because you want them to be able to sprout nicely. It's very important to label your seeds because if you're anything like me, there's no way you'll remember what you planted where. And so I'm going to just take a little clothespin and clip it to the side. Now we'll do our Plum Regal, and we're going to do those ones in the horsehair one. So now that the tomatoes done, we're gonna go on to the rest of our seeds. And so we are gonna be starting some marigolds. We like the marigolds because around the garden, they help deter pests apparently. They also attract bees to the garden, and the strong smell can help deter deer. We have a deer issue. We have so many deer in the area, and so that's why our gardens are always fenced in. If not, the deer will eat the entire garden. We're also going to be planting some peppers. We have poor luck with peppers, and we are going to be trying a couple California Wonders. These seeds are all a little bit old, so I'm just going to try some, and if some germinate, good. If they don't, I will probably go down to our local nursery and buy a few starts. I have a few Bell Boys to try, another California Wonder, and this one is called, Bikuinho? I don't know how to say it. Bikuinho pepper. They're a Brazilian heirloom. They're called Little Beak, and they are like a small pepper. And so we might try these ones. These seeds are quite old. We got them from the Napa Seed Company a long time ago. And so we're just gonna try a few peppers, experiment. If they don't come, we're not too heartbroken. Broccoli, we're also gonna be starting today. I love the broccoli. Last year they came really good for us. We've only ever had luck with the Vessi broccoli seeds, and so we're gonna stick with those. These are gypsy broccoli. We're also gonna be doing some cabbage. These are called expectation cabbage, and they're good for winter storage, which is what we look for when we're doing any of the things that we're gonna be keeping in a root cellar-like system. I don't actually have a root cellar, but we always store our vegetables, and so I like storing cabbage. I just used my last cabbage up last week, which it is now April, so that's pretty good. And we're gonna try this brand this year. I'm also gonna do just a couple Brussels sprouts. We haven't had great luck with those, but I thought I'd try a few. And I'll start a little bit of basil as well. So we're gonna get these all planted in the soil. You can show me. So I think this is good. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
Once they're planted, we're gonna put the cover on, and we're gonna be taking these up home where we'll put them under our grow lights and get them all nice and warm to start sprouting for the season. It is so encouraging when the seeds start to sprout and we can see some green coming. Thanks for joining us for these spring days at the cabin. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one.